I'm Arpita. I'm founder and CEO of Mech Mocha. We are a mobile gaming startup based out of Bangalore, and we are focused on developing for India. We have a large vision of making India play and doing our bit every day for the industry and for the large user base that this country has.
Thank you for being here, Arpita.
Hi.
Okay, so let's start with one thing that I find very important. I mean, how did you get your start in the video games?
No, I played video games as a kid. I mean, I belong to a very, very small village. It's called Pihani. So we only had that cassette that my dad bought, like 1 in 100 games that you put into the TV and you play. But I was always fantasized by how you can create stories with technology and creativity. And I think the start happened in college when I learned to code, and then I started building games, and I was like, okay, I can also make this. And then that's when I think we did our internships. Me and Mohit, who's a co-founder of Mech Mocha, we did our internships in gaming companies in Hyderabad. That was my first internship. So there is a larger connect to Hyderabad. It was with a company called Blue Giant Interactive. They were doing a RTS game for PC. I think that time I was a programmer, and I did graphics programming for that game. And I think so yeah, those were the starting kind of hints and bits of getting attracted to the space. But then we ended up doing a food startup when we graduated. Yeah. But then we did it for 10 months, and we are like, this is too operational. This is doesn't scale with technology. Very boring in context of gaming.
Right.
And we left it as a college project, moved to IMA, and that's when I think we started envisioning Mech Mocha. So towards the end of 2015 is when we did our first fundraise with Bloom, and at that time we were just founders, right, with just the hinge and tinge of the fact that let's do something for India. And I also got IGDA scholarship, so that was, I think, a key changing event where we went to Valley. We met all gaming companies. We met Zynga, Playdom, everybody at that time,
right,
and visited the studios and saw that it's not just art; it's a science. People are putting so much data analytics into building games and into making sure that users are getting the experiences that are necessary. So I think that and seeing an open market, like as an entrepreneur, are the two things that came together for me to do gaming and do Mech Mocha.
Right. So I mean, you just said something very interesting that for the first time, obviously when you traveled to the Valley, you kind of saw, what people were actually doing as far as gaming. It was more than just creating the game, but it had a lot more to do with
the business of
with the
it.
business,
Yeah,
with the
with
analytics,
the business of it. Yeah.
with the counting of daily active users and whatever else. So now that you've obviously been in the industry in India for a fair amount of time, right, I want to get your perspective on what you see has been the evolution of the Indian game industry over perhaps the last 3 to 5 years.
So I think we've grown in our knowledge, in our information, in our ability to understand our own audience. So there's a lot more kind of belief and conviction on the Indian market, which wasn't there when we started. Like when Mech Mocha started, people are like, oh, why don't you make for the US? Why don't you make for UK market? And how will you ever make money? And I was like, I would want to build for a market that has potential rather
right,
than the market that today has revenue. And I think today, I think there's a larger group of people, including the Westerners and the Chinese and right, everybody who shares now that conviction that this market is here to stay, here to grow. There's a lot of potential in terms of the usage, in terms of it could be different games than what West and China plays, but there's a lot of demand from the users. And I think I think that is a drastic shift last 1.5 years, where Ludo King, PUBG, our own game Hello Ludo, for us also to see success in the local vernacular space. I think everybody's conviction is just stronger and stronger. Right. That the India 2 that is coming online, and people who got Jio on their phones, and that is the market to build for, and that is the true India that we want to make place. So I think that is one big change, and also the infrastructure for payments, infrastructure for network, right, because of Jio. Everything is kind of moving in a direction where you would see a healthy gaming ecosystem happening.
Right. So I think when we were speaking earlier, you mentioned the tagline for Mech Mocha is "Make India Play Games." Yeah. Right. Obviously, you've already mentioned a little bit about how you're looking to kind of target the vernacular sector. Can you just talk a little bit more about the idea and the thought behind make India play games?
Right. So I think when we used to say making India play, it was never about just making the top 10 million, top 20 million, top 100 million also play. I think the vision was always to make the entire India play. And then once we got deeper, we realized that the entire India needs very, very local content. And familiar games like Ludo, Carom, things that they understand, quiz that they do day-to-day basis. And I think that's where we started building a new product, Hello Ludo, which was about conversation. So the product is called Corely in Hindi, and you can have conversations to make new friends, meet strangers all across India over a game of Ludo. And I think that is working really well for us. So I think the space, we call this market Preetham. We've named this user Preetham. I don't know if you've seen the movie with
No, I have.
Preetham Vidrohi is the character. So we call our user Preetham because I think Preetham is a very unique audience and it is extremely large. Like we are still capping only Hindi speaking belt. Imagine if we get a Tamil Preetham, a Telugu Preetham.
They're probably going to have different names.
Yeah, we'll name them separately. But I think there's a lot of, so many users on mobile today wanting to consume entertainment.
Right.
And as a gaming company, we believe we can give interactive entertainment. As opposed to just simply videos or simply music. We can actually build interactivity, which will always be larger market, larger revenue potential, and I think that's where Mech is focused today.
Right. So I'll tell you what, I mean, one very interesting thing I read and saw about Mech Mocha was the fact that you guys obviously have a lot of interaction that you're doing with stand-up comics. What has been the thought process behind integrating stand-up comics who are now hugely popular into your game?
So we did that in Jetpack Joyride India version, and I think we wanted to try. So we've seen stand-up comedy or comedy work globally with gaming really well. I mean, if you look at the numbers, they go along really well. People who love comedy also love gaming.
Right.
And I think Jetpack Joyride India was targeted towards the Rahul market, as we call it, not the Preetham market. So there is a Preetham and there is a Rahul. Yeah.
Right.
So I think we knew that these people, follow comedians like Biswa, Zakir. We had seen success of Fastlane globally with having YouTube comedians being part of the game. But that was very promotional in nature. But we wanted to do something deeper. So we made them villains in the game. So Zakir was a villain, Biswa was a villain.
Wow.
And we adopted the original Jetpack Joyride narrative to India, where, the character became a Don. From boring salesman. So I think India is all about spice. It's all about people getting attracted to drama, and I think that's what we wanted to create within the game's narrative. And what these guys helped is they created their own characters, they wrote the dialogues, they also promoted the game. And since they were part of the game, we really had a very collaborative relationship than just like paying them money and say, okay, join us. It was more of, we will feature you in our game and you feature us on your medium, and it worked really well, especially during the first few weeks of launch, where people were seeing first time real people as characters in the game.
Right.
And I think that got us a lot of traction. Even now when we do tournaments, like we are entering Amazon Champions of Fire.
Right.
It's called Game On in India. It's an esports event. Jetpack India would be part of that event. In Feb. So I think overall it was a very, very good experience, and I think we're very experimentative in nature.
Right.
Like you see, like Ludo King guys did a song with Mika.
Right.
Like if we don't do this, then how will we ever learn what kind of marketing works?
Right. So it's obviously a merger of two worlds. It's a merger of pop culture.
Yeah, because you have to understand, our users are accessing entertainment across.
Right.
Like we don't have like these designated gamers who don't watch videos or who don't watch comedy. I think they watch everything, and I think that amalgamation helps them understand and get attracted to games and find new gamers than the existing audiences.
Right. So I'll tell you what, we are coming towards the end of our interview. If there's anything that you would like to add on to anything that we've already spoken, you can talk straight to the camera.
No, I think I always want to add on that this is, India is a very, very large market, very, very high opportunity. So, if you're planning to start up, please do. We have very few companies in this country, and we need a lot more startups to come up and build this market. And I think if there's anybody who's being a naysayer to you, just ignore them. because the market is available today, ready. I mean, it's the best time to be a content entertainment entrepreneur in the country. Right. I mean, I won't say the same for Bitcoin, but it is the best time to be an entrepreneur.
Let's not go trashing them already.
Yeah.
Okay, so these were words of wisdom from Arpita Kapoor. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.